All right. Good evening, everybody. We're a little bit late, but we are here. It is Monday, September 23rd, 2024, and we are here recapping what a shit show of a week it was last week. I'm joined tonight by Swiggy, and I'm hoping Gavin joins us here in just a little bit. Swiggy, what a week last week was. First,
I mean,
depending on how you look at it, the OU Arena is shoved through Norman City Council, and then OU throws up on the bed,
I mean,
and throws up and
hold up. I mean,
loses.
hold up. Let's be fair. The offense threw up. The defense did fine.
Correct, correct. I would be remiss if I said that uh team failed. Only half the football team failed. But
Not
right
really.
now we are in a
More like,
limbo of
more like one person failed. The problem is that it's the most important person on the team.
it's an entire cluster. It's an entire cluster. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, if you take the Venn diagram of circles of who is to blame, you can start out basically combine everything into one circle because they're all happening simultaneously, and they all contribute to the overall time is a flat circle shit show. Gavin, thanks for joining us tonight. We started a little bit late, but we're was waiting on you. So this is a safe space for everybody. This is a place for everybody to vent their frustrations. Because I will say, I want to make it up front. I'm not mad that you lose. I learned from the Texas Tech rain delay game in 2011, everybody loses. That's
Yeah.
part of it. That's why you play sports. That's why you play board games. That's why you do A, B, and C, whether it's competitive or casual. If you can't handle losing, you probably shouldn't be playing at that point or a spectator. Okay. Easy enough. Easy enough. What makes me upset is seeing when you see something that's in the concerning sports, when you have it in your grasp and you know you can beat this team and you have the weapons, even limited as you are, and you just let it run away from you, essentially. And that boils down to either option A, coaches are putting players into positions that set them up to fail. B, you have complete incompetence um, from either the players or the coaching staff. C, because apparently there is a third option now. You got both together because that's what we saw on Saturday. We saw OU lose to Tennessee 25-15 because the offensive side of the ball decided that they are the Oklahoma offense, and somebody likes to play cruel jokes on us, and they like to eat great value glue. And that's where we're at this point.
Oh,
It's weird saying this that
hold
we
up.
are
Hold up. So hold up. Got some breaking news. Venable said on Coach's show, Hawkins is starting Saturday at Auburn.
correct. They announced that here. 82 mentioned it, and Swiggy, you mentioned it as well. I saw it on Twitter just right before we started. That
Okay.
is how bad the offense is at the moment. We had to bench our 5-star quarterback because whether Blank he's a bust, whether he hasn't been developed, who knows? Dude turned the ball over 3 times, and I'm not going to say he's the majority of the problem, but he's the majority of the problem. And as
I
a result,
mean,
he's now
yeah.
going to be riding the bench. I hope that he enjoys being probably a golden hurricane.
I mean, yeah. It's. At first I want to say it's unfortunate when it happens, but it's not like 5 stars don't. It's not. I mean, it's not. It's not like 5 stars don't bust. Like as much as we can, well, you can try and blame Seth, you can try and blame Brent, you can try and blame the coaching staff, you can try and blame a lot of people for Jackson Arnold, but some guys just don't. Some guys just don't make it to the next level. Uh, Look what happened.
Correct. That is
I'll just use this as an example, just so we're just for everyone chomping at the bit. I mean, Lincoln Riley is look, whatever I want to say about Lincoln Riley, he puts his quarterbacks in positions to succeed. And Spencer Rattler did nothing for him. He went to South Carolina, and he went from being, hey, this guy could be a Heisman hopeful, to that guy to doing nothing in South Carolina. He had a few good games, but and Malachi whatever isn't even starting. I don't even think he's starting at Boise State this year
No,
after
he's the
transfer.
backup.
Yeah. So yeah. So to be clear, some of this, while I don't want to give the coaching staff a free pass because you got to develop these guys. Some guys just don't get it, even as 5 stars. I mean, trust
Correct.
me. Yeah.
And the we have to. It is important to mention, and I'm getting caught up on my words, Swiggy and Gavin. Is sometimes people. It's just like in real life. Sometimes people are better test takers than they are note takers. Sometimes they are better on scout squads than they are on actual game days. That is a thing. That is real, and we have to recognize that that can be basically the limitation of your player at that point.
Yeah.
But that is considered part of a bust, though. Like, how much resources, time, and dedication did you just to get uh your main star essentially at this point to just basically ride the bench, unless in absolute emergencies. And it could be as simple as he's just not ready for the spotlight, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's throwing him out to the wolves at this point. But that's kind of what you signed up for too.
Yeah. I
There
mean,
is both sides of it.
yeah. I mean, it happens. That's why you have to. I mean, that's why you have to. I mean, that's why you really need to be developing 2 quarterbacks at once. Is
Correct.
yeah, like I mean, everyone focuses on the 5 star guys, and I mean, I'm old enough to remember. Rhett Bomar is gonna be the one who's going to light it up at Oklahoma, and then a couple NCAA violations later, hey, Sam Bradford, you're starting. Not trying to compare Hawkins to Bradford. I'm just saying.
Correct.
I'm just
It's
saying it
the
happens. I'm just saying it happens.
right.
So
It's the things we don't account for. They're
yeah,
variables, just like this weekend of is Auburn. Are we actually playing at Auburn or is Auburn playing here? It's all part of the. Well, it depends on what the hurricane does, if
I
there
think
is a
it,
hurricane.
I think that
Um,
I think I think that thing's going to veer further to the east. It's going to be more of a Florida problem. Although that doesn't mean but I mean that doesn't mean Auburn's not going to get a ton of rain. So we'll see with that. Yeah, that's good. That's
yeah,
gonna be an adventure. That's the event. That's the new adventure of playing in the SEC.
absolutely.
This was not a Kansas State problem.
Correct. I want to say as we're already 7 minutes in, I want to welcome everybody who's joined in. I hope we have a large crowd tonight. This is, like I said, this is group therapy tonight. I think everybody needs to vent a little bit off their chest. Again, it's okay to lose, but it's not okay how we lost. So, Gavin, thank you for joining us tonight as well. I know you probably have a lot to get off your chest as well. Instant reaction from OU losing to Tennessee 15-25 on a disastrous of like meltdown on offense that you could get over probably dating back 30 years ago.
Man, I'll tell you, it was a. Uh, I, I was like so irritated and everything. Like I was even kind of watching this game, and it was so hard. It was like I would have rather watched paint dry than watching that poor performance on offense, honestly. And it was getting to the point to where I even my whole even where my dad, who doesn't where he usually kind of watches, is usually kind of somewhat casually and everything. It's like I don't want to see Jackson Arnold out there ever again. I rather have Hawkins, starting here from the rest of the season. That's how bad, for my dad, who doesn't usually gets involved so much within sports or anything, but he does
Yeah,
not
because
want to see Arnold
your
out
dad's
there
a
on the
cool
field.
guy, but he doesn't really break down the X's and O's like you do.
No, and honestly, and here's the problem with that, and the problem that I have with like some of the issues was like the first interception, he kind of telegraphed his throw because the corner just basically baited him and basically just sort of, basically dropped in to where he, threw in the interception. It's like Yeah, it was just easy. He was just basically telegraphing the throw. And then all of a sudden, when you get to this next turnover where he turns it over at the 5, he's like, why are we doing a quarterback run inside our own 5 instead of handing off to the running back? It was just like, I just don't feel like, honestly, like, you're just going to put.
Strategery.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's like, I am, and I will say this, I'm not, unless you're somehow Blake Bell or something like that, I just do not want to see Jackson Arnold, basically running that ball inside or anything, unless you're doing like a somehow small sneak or something. That's where I'm at this point.
Gavin,
it's just,
you're not going to see him anymore, Gavin, unless Hawkins gets hurt. So,
yes.
Congratulations, you got your wish.
Gavin, the drone show that happened at halftime had more receiving yards from a quarterback than Jackson Arnold did to his own receivers. Let's just be honest. Like, it was a rough outing. To say it was a rough outing, I'm going to the next step. Just to let y'all know, I went to the game. I saw the shit show in person, so I have a lot of opinions on this. To say he was not ready, to say it was bad would be a understatement. It was. John Blake is even going, I think I know offense better than you do. Like, my gosh, it was such a bad thing. And what y'all all may be wondering is, first off, 82 brought it up, Jimmy, you brought it up, and I believe, yes, there are coaches whose seats are warm. I'm not going to go full as far to say that they are fired because I have to take my emotion out of it.
No, it's.
But are there seats closer to a mid? Is there a realistic in-game scenario where there could be a mid-season firing? Yes, there generally is.
Depends on. Yeah, I mean, depends what happens with Auburn. Depends what happens because if you want to be the optimist in me, Tennessee is probably a top 3 SEC. Tennessee is at least a top 3, top 4 SEC team this year, depending how you feel. Heupel's been they've been able to Heupel's been there. Heupel's been there. They've been in the process of rebuilding that program. They didn't have as bad an exodus before Heupel was there. I mean, it wasn't good, but they were. But Tennessee was able to rebuild. It's it's. I mean, if you do think they're a top team, well, these games happen. It's unfortunately they happen, especially if your quarterback is not the guy, which it looks like Jackson Arnold isn't. I mean, at least the coaching staff wasn't. I give the coaching staff credit, which makes me wonder just how bad. Makes me wonder how not good he's been in practice. That the coaching staff is just ready to move on after one admittedly horrible week.
Correct.
Let's
week. It's 4. Well, 3
He's been shaky. Yeah, okay, yeah. I'll be fair with that. He's been shaky for 3 weeks, but this is the first week where I can honestly say I just don't see it with him. So I guess to a point, the coaching staff at least isn't deaf to that. When they know they have a better option, is it realistic that they'd fire him? That people are going to get fired? Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to depend on the Auburn game and where we go from here. Because Hawkins comes in. Hawkins comes in. He plays well. Winning out the pipe dream. I don't think we're going to do that. But he wins the games we're supposed to. Steal one, keep some other games close, and at that point the coaching staff is fine until the off season. Auburn, if it does happen this week, weekend, with the hurricane, is going to be a real tell-all where the offense is, how hot seats are going to get. I will say this: I think it would have to get really bad for Brent to get fired, just because he's been just because of how well he's done on the recruiting trail. And yeah, you have to show it on the field, But in the NIL era, that's going to give you at least a little bit of a longer leash because you don't want an exodus of players who you think are going to be really good. So I think I think I have to get really bad for that to happen. Seth, that's the one who should be worried. That's the one who needs to be worried.
And I've said multiple times on this live stream, not this one specifically, but several shows before, I said Seth was not the guy. The moment after that Houston game with that whatever fourth quarter trying to run out the clock shit show that was too. Yeah, and that's congratulations, y'all. The word of the night is shit show because that's my go-to word tonight. How do you use it in a sentence? OU's offense is a shit show. Anyway, I wasn't a fan of Seth at that point. But here's the thing. Here's the picture.
Damn it, Josh! You wish on the monkey paw. You wish. For
I did not wish on the monkey paw.
Yes, you did. You wished for a championship defense, and this was the cost. Why have you forsaken us?
That's the joke on you. I said I wanted a competent defense. I did not want a championship defense because my mentality at the end of the day, which is more important, offense or defense? Yes, both play a role. Ultimately, your offense edges out your defense just slightly because you still got to score points. One side of the ball can do that, the other cannot. That's my opinion on that. But regardless, but here's the thing that I think everybody is wondering, who is logged in, who is watching us right now, is how did OU's elite top 1 through 5, however you want to say it, dating back to 2016, 2017, elite of the elite, record-breaking offense get to, we don't know how to cross the 5-yard line. We don't know how to coordinate with each other. And I think you have to look at it from both sides and both angles, because the first part is everything is connected. Okay. As college football has evolved. Okay. And I'm upfront and say I'm not an X's and O's guy. I'm slowly learning more about X's and O's because I personally never played football, but I'm slowly learning the ins and outs of certain intricacies of it. So bear with me. Since college football has evolved, we're seeing that deficiencies are more critical on a team, and long run hurts hurts the team if you are lacking at very, very certain key places as the game has evolved. For initially, we saw it was running backs. If you didn't have a running back in the wishbone, you sucked on it, and it definitely impacted the team. Then we see quarterback play evolve. Then we've seen wide receiver play evolve. Now we're genuinely starting to see the trenches are the turning slowly into the single most important units on the team because it's going to determine the outcome of the rest. Yes, you still need your on the field leaders, whether they're vocal, whether it's the quarterback, who cares? You still need those on the field. Yeah. But as a unit, you have to have both of those to basically work the rest of your offense. So how did we get to this point, though? 2017, Lincoln Riley was hired. I don't like to lean on Lincoln Riley as an excuse, but bear with me, it does play a factor into this. Lincoln Riley's mantra on this was that he wanted lean, fast, speed D, as Grinch put it, defense and players. He did not have a true good strength and conditioning coach like Schmidt is. You had Benny Wiley. And as a result of that, players did not develop properly under Lincoln Riley, and it impacted where we're at with the O-line. If you're not recruiting the right players, if you're not having them properly develop, you get to where we're at today, where we just hope to get someone from the portal at this point to fill a hole. It's like fantasy football. You just hope that they exceed your expectations, but no, going in that that there is not going to, you don't expect a 5-star.
No.
Basically, is where you're at this point. So when you go from 2017, you get to that point where it's slowly but slowly chipping away. You're losing your NFL talent. You're losing your award-winning units at this point. You get guys who should not probably be on the field or even playing at least D1 FBS football. They may be great in D2. They may be great in D3. But for a program like Oklahoma, USC, Alabama, you name it, I don't care. They probably shouldn't be on the depth chart, let alone they may not even should be on the scout team. But regardless, slowly chip away. So your offensive line is garbage. Okay. How does that affect the offense? Well, if your O-line breaks down, your running game is immediately shut down. There is no possibility for your run game to develop if they're already blitzing through your offensive line at this point. So there's no run game that you have. Quarterback play cannot develop because the O-line is not giving him enough time to develop or to let him develop the plays and read and everything. So he's
Josh,
rusty, and then he starts panicking at this point.
Josh, you gotta learn to be able to use traffic cones effectively.
No, the field goals unfortunately are stationary on either side of the field, and the ref is in the on the outside. That advantage is gone. But
Damn.
so as your O-line breaks down, every other unit begins to break down as well. So quarterback play becomes wild and erratic. You have someone like Jackson Arnold who cannot develop properly because he's trying to throw the ball away and he's running for his life. The O-line is so bad that we're leaning more on Michael Hawkins because he can go east and west versus north and south, as we're seeing from Saturday night from it. That's kind of the guy because he can read the play a little bit more and get going when the O-line breaks down. Okay. So running game's out of it. Quarterback play is out of it. Wide receivers, we can argue that one. They have a factor with the O-line too, but theirs is more of, can they break away? Well, if you're not recruiting the right players at this point, they're undersized. They can't get the ball over the defender at this point. They can't do anything for it. You're stuck. Okay. So there are many pieces where you can already see the O-line is affecting a lot. Couple that with the back-breaking injuries, because let's be honest, we have been snake bit this year on injuries. I hope Kendall Dolby's okay. I know he's not offense, but I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
Nick Anderson's probably, my assumption, maybe out the rest of the year. Running backs have been like rotating in and out at this point. Burks is hurt. Well, hold on. Let me finish. Burks is hurt. It does affect. Now, how does injuries play into this? Well, as we're breaking this down, O-line has affected everything. Your game plan breaks down. Now the injuries play. That falls into Seth of what do you have to work with at this point? Your game plan that you may have developed and spent time, effort, dedication, practicing from spring practice, it's gone. One guy you can work around. When it's this many pieces, you're just hoping something clicks. You're literally putting soap in the paper towel, running it underwater, and just hope it sticks to the ceiling. I hope some of y'all got that elementary school reference, but that's where we're at this point. So each one plays a part of why is the offense so bad. Now, you can also separate, okay, why the offense is so bad in key points, because that's me giving them as much grace as possible, and that's being fair to each portion, because Jackson Arnold is not 100% at fault. Seth Luttrell is not 100% at fault. And what's it called? The injuries do play a factor. But now here's the flip side of that, okay? Now here's the negative. It's not Seth's fault that Jackson Arnold made stupid-ass decisions, because that's what it boils down to, stupid-ass decisions and turning the ball over at least 2 times. We can argue all night if he turned the ball over the 3rd time. It, to me, wasn't a forward pass. I'm not the ref, though. I don't get to decide that. I think that he just had problems at that point. So that's number 1. So number 2, with that, Jackson Arnold is not the problem. Number 2, it's not Jackson Arnold's fault that we do not have an offensive identity. No. Even with all the injuries, even with all the players that we are missing and affecting certain particular key component areas. And Jimmy, I see your question. I'll circle back around to that once I'm over. Basically, here's my dissertation of why we suck right now. Going back to my train of thought with it. It's not Jackson Arnold's fault that Seth Luttrell did not walk into that game with any type of game plan and did not have any type of simplified game plan with it to cater to the players' abilities, essentially, at this point. So that's number 2. Number 3, it is not Seth Luttrell's fault or Jackson Arnold's fault that the players behind them are not developed at this point, and they are I'm not going to say I don't want to be mean about the players with it as well, but they're not hindrances. They're not liabilities, but they're not where they should be at least where they were at, where maybe the injuries are so far back that they were not planning to do 4th string, for example. I don't care what string they're at. That's irrelevant. But they are not developed to the point where they need to be able to be next man up, get ready to go. You saw that with the O-line. Again, injuries play a factor into that. I'm not going to blame a guy who came back like, what's his face on our O-line, the center, who's been out for 4 weeks, hasn't had the snap count, hasn't gotten used to the center position since he was out since week 1. I understand that. The flip side of it, though, is why are these players not developed at this point to know very generic stuff to the point that Gabe Eichert is even going, what is going on? Like, this is not even development of players. This is high school level stuff. This is junior high that they are not learning, and that falls on your O-line. So, as y'all all see, as the adventure we went through just now, the past probably 10 minutes, and I probably took up y'all's time, who may or may not know football, that's where we're at. That's how it all basically, here's the little domino that went to the disaster that was Saturday. And here's the thing, there's a point where it's raw talent does help that. We've seen that with Caleb Williams. It helps mask that. But when you don't have the raw talent for that, or the players who are more tailored to certain aspects of playing the game, it's exposed right up front. And again, we still had a chance Saturday to win because of the defense's performance. You're playing with hi, I'm Oklahoma's defense. I like well done Kobe beef steaks. Hi, I'm Oklahoma's offense. I like great value glue. That is where you're at. And yet they still had a chance to win the game. But that, for anybody wondering why we suck on offense, you got from point A, you got to point B. There are both sides to it. It's all a cluster at one point. And the question is, how do you course correct it at this point? Because I'll be honest, I have no problem booing players because they make a lot of money. If you're not performing, this is a results-based game, you ride that bench. I have no problems with firing coaches. You're not having performance, living up to your expectations, your ass is grass. I have no problems with that. And I think we are already seeing the beginning of the player like trying to fix this, trying to hodgepodge this, trying to make something of this from basically where we're at with injuries, trying to salvage whatever we have for the season to not waste Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman's times. This to where we're at now. Number one is Michael Hawkins being the starter. I think you have to. Whatever's going on with Jackson Arnold, he's not developed correctly. I don't know if that extends back to Jeff Lebby, who maybe he didn't interact with him. Maybe it's because Seth is not a quarterback coach. Regardless, he is not developed properly. He is not mentally in the game right now. That could always change. I want y'all to understand that always could change with it. Sometimes you just go through peaks and valleys, and he could be having a super duper valley right now, and that's okay. But he's not ready for a big time D1 Oklahoma football. You got to go with Michael Hawkins, who looked more prepared, who looked more ready to be out on the field at this point. Number two, you got to start looking at the coaches of, did you hire the right guy, or did you have a lazy, convenient hire because you needed someone to keep Jackson Arnold, which we can always circle back around to after I get Gavin and Swiggy's input here in a sec. That's going to be, and part of the, did you even have a game plan, or did you present something like a elementary school kid who didn't do his homework and said, oh, my dog ate it? Because that's kind of what happened. There was no game plan. And then number three, how do you address the injuries? How do you address that? And that's more of a long-term type of thing. What can you fix short-term fixes, long-term investment? Woo! Okay. Now that I got all that off my chest of how we got here, how we get to this point, hope everyone had fun with that road trip at this point. Swiggy, I know you've been trying to say something real fast. I apologize. Go ahead.
You're fine. You're fine. Well, congrats for explaining the game of football. I mean, yeah, football.
But people aren't getting that critical.
I know.
No one is breaking it down that
I know football. I know. I mean, well, look. Football's a team sport, and
no, it's not. That's why.
I mean, honestly, football's the ultimate team sport. Like, baseball is weird in the sense that you very much need a full team, but the thing is, you have a guy who's off in baseball, and it won't kill everything. Football, your left tackle's off. I mean, college is starting to become like the NFL, where your four most important positions are left tackle, quarterback, edge, and cornerback. Like the thing is, if you have four elite guys at those positions, most other things will fall into place at that point.
Correct.
That's pretty much how the Rams won the Super Bowl, by having Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, a really great line, in Matt Stafford. So that's the thing. It's kind of unfortunate we are where we are, because look, if we had good line play can mask a lot. Like,
Correct. You can have, and that's that
Mhm.
learning that how does this work? You can mask a lot when you have line play, and you can have an average quarterback because the line play is so elite.
Yeah, you have a horrible quarterback. I mean, I know, and I've got a loss in Tennessee, but USC lost to a Michigan team with a quarterback that only had 32 yards passing. Like, like that was.
I mean, I can't
that
even,
was
I can't even enjoy that because of how bad we.
that was
replayed
19. That was 1940. That was 1940s level. What Michigan did to USC. But that's my point. They had really great line play. They were able to control the ball running, and they basically told their quarterback, "Hey man, don't mess things up." And I mean, to his credit, the couple times they asked him to pass, yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he didn't mess it up. But that's So that just using things to your advantage. The thing is, it just goes back, it just goes back to where we're 3 years. This is year 3 post Riley. The defense has made some great improvements, and now the offense is where we're having issues. Partly because we just don't have the linemen. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just being honest here. Not having linemen is such a killer, and if Arnold is a bust, he's not going to be able to mask that. Like
Correct.
some quarterbacks can mask offensive, like and in some ways we've been spoiled. Baker, Kyler,
Jalen.
well, they all had better line play than what we have now, but they could. But Baker was able to run around, mask that stuff. He was Baker was just really good at going off the cuff.
Correct.
And if you're not really good, of course. Now, mind you, also have better receivers too. So, unfortunately, where the offense is, it's kind of interconnected. If they're not rethinking the game plan now, they gotta restart. They gotta restart thinking it, because look, injuries happen. Every team has injuries. A lot of you have a lot of issues going into a season. You just gotta try and do the best you can. Like honestly, if this offense comes out and starts playing the best they can, because Saturday wasn't it. I mean, Saturday wasn't even close to being really. Saturday wasn't even close to being really good, or or up to their potential. If they at least play up to their potential, I'll be less mad about it. So Auburn's gonna be interesting. I think people have kind of. I don't want to say it's an overreaction, because kind of is, because national games will always get you an overreaction. I don't think we're as bad as Tennessee made us look, because I do think Tennessee is good, but we definitely have offensive problems that are keeping us from being in that upper half where we want to be right now. So.
Something I do want to bring up before I pass it to Gavin is to answer your question, Jimmy. Right now, I did some research at the moment during the live stream. I don't think we know about Burks of his injury. I think he exited the game at whatever point it was and did not return, but I don't think we know what it actually is. To me, I think we saw George Stoya confirm it today, where I think it's what's his name? One second. George Stoya. One of our players is supposed to be now playing wide receiver, because
Jacoby Jackson.
Thank you. Jacoby Jackson is moving from probably supposedly, but confirmed, cornerback to wide receiver, because that is how deficit we are in wide receiver. So I would expect his injury, it could be potentially more serious than what we think or what the surface level knowledge we know, but I genuinely don't know. I wish I had an answer for you. I don't, and I don't know anybody who has any inklings of what that is for. That could be one of those things of, we don't mind telling you that Jackson Arnold isn't going to be the starter because you figured that out. Dion Burks may be another matter. To answer, looking through as well, the other questions, there was another question that I saw too. The Oklahoma 82 for Oklahoma, Seth is supposed to be the quarterback coach. We don't have a true dedicated assistant or grad transfer, whatever you want to have for those positions, be a quarterback coach. The problem is Seth was never, I don't think he's ever done quarterbacks for it. Like, he may have done some very surface level, like, analyzation or tips, but not dedicated work like a Josh Heupel was, for example. So I would say no. I would say we don't have a quarterback coach or someone where we can rely upon. And I think we're seeing that on the field. I think we see that with quarterbacks and we're seeing that with special teams for sure.
No, yeah. Seth has always been our running backs, tight ends.
Correct. The last time, to answer your question, the last time OU, well, it varies. If you're talking, Jimmy, as a full unit, I would go as far back, I want to say it was 2017 or 2018, when we last had everybody on the O-line on the same page. We've had really good guys on the O-line, and they helped mask that because they had out-of-this-world NFL talent. And we're hurting for that because all our starters basically are redshirt freshmen. That does hurt, and that's experience. But I think as a unit, it's been a little bit of a while because we didn't do anything with it, and we saw those results degrading under Riley near the end of his tenure here. Again, I don't want to lean on that excuse, but it is a reality of we're still recovering from that. Because the reason why I say that is when that degrade happens, you have to basically take a reset. All right, we got to go recruit people. That's 1 year. All right, once they're in, we got to train them up. That's 2 years. Realistically, they're probably not starting till like in your timeline, year 3. That's kind of where we're at this point. I assumed it was going to be next year, though, where it would be a special year or we would be very, very competitive. We were going to have some rough bumps here and there. And those transfer portal had to be a blessing for us to step up and take that next leap on their career at this point, but we never made it there so far because they got injured. But that's where we're at. Like, that would be kind of next year, but that's kind of my very, very simple overview for it. So I hope I answered y'all's questions for that to the best of my ability. I'm sorry I don't have more info for that. I think some of it too is just too quick of a turnaround to know what that info is at this point. Woo! Okay, Gavin, go ahead.
Man, every single point you guys have just made, I mean, it was just like to the point. But I will say another thing that really was onto the point though too, and I kind of have to point this to, like you said, I have an issue where like Jackson's decision making has been, I think, been the most problematic within these last couple weeks. That's been the biggest problem. Like Hawkins, once he's already made his decision before the snap, before he even makes this, before the snap. Jackson Arnold, as soon as he gets a snap, he's then like second, third, and fourth guessing himself, honestly, and it's like he's putting himself to where I'm just saying, just from this, it's like he's just basically trying to put a square peg into a round hole, and it's kind of honestly to the point to where it's like I'm really kind of to the point to where, from a quarterback perspective, you've got to just be able to make one simple read, and if it's not there, then you don't need to be able to force it. And that's been the problem right now. He has been putting too much to where his headspace. Whether something's going on or anything, I don't know. That has been the biggest problem for me. Now, and like you said, with the other pieces that are falling into place, look, we have the injuries, which is all part of it. Now, do I put it all on Seth Luttrell? That is not entirely, I would say, entirely on Seth or Joe John Finley. It's hard for me to basically justify that, especially because injuries are going to happen. it's part of the game. I get it, but it's basically to where there's just like you are just basically trying to basically crawl to get through before you can get past Auburn, so that way we can get to the bye week. This is just where I'm feeling at right now. It's like if you can just somehow crawl and get to the win through with this bye week, after getting through Auburn, because you'll have a bye before then you have to go into Texas. That's where we're kind of at. We're just wanting to just kind of crawl and just say, okay, we somehow survived whatever the hell this mess has been for the first quarter of the season. And then you're having to deal with another huge game after that, which is basically setting up with Texas. So honestly, we're just trying to basically just crawl at this point while everybody's already kind of going full throttle around all over the country.
Well, and there is something we. Oh, go ahead.
Not everyone's going full throttle. Although if that's Florida State's full throttle, man, I feel bad for those guys. But
Well, I mean,
I get what you're saying.
I get what
you're saying. I'm joking. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, though, Gavin. It's very, it's very frustrating, but at the same time, look, all you can really do is we're on to Auburn. Like you can learn. There's a lot we learned from that game about the offense, which I think all of us feared. I'm pretty sure, which all of us did. Like I said, I thought the only way we were going to win was if we ran the ball well and we controlled it. And you know what? Control did not happen. Control did not happen
because
at
it
all.
did not exist.
No, it did not. No, it did not exist. No.
I think something we haven't addressed though that I do think we need to as well is solution one is until Jackson Arnold, and he may never start for OU again, but until Jackson Arnold gets his head in the right mental space. Question one: how do you separate this Venn diagram again for it? You have to Venables has to be the head coach and make Michael Hawkins start, which has happened. Okay. Number two, there are coaches' seats that are warm. I think number one, and it's not been addressed on it, but let's delve even further because again, guys, defense did everything we could ask them to. They played lights out to the best of their ability that they could. The only thing they didn't do was score points, but that's not really their responsibility. Theirs is to prevent the game from getting out of hand, which they did. Anybody who thought Tennessee was going to blow us out, they're stupid. Like that, we've said this many times that's not even a realistic expectation. Now, back to who it is. Number one offender, in my opinion, who needs to be let go regardless of what happens this year, Joe John Finley. Is shown that whatever he's doing as a co-offensive coordinator is not working, and his tight ends are soft. They can't block. Sharp can catch. I don't think they use him enough for me to justify one way or the other if Sharp is the guy or there's other options available. But that position has failed spectacularly since Venables has become head football coach and has not gotten better. I would say we've taken steps back even further, and that's even taking into account like Stockner and stuff coming back. There has been no block. There's been no push, no anything. He's got to go. I don't even think this is up for debate. Joe John's a liability on the offense. He's a liability for this team. He's taking up space. He's a leech. Sorry, that's how I feel. I'm sorry, that's how I feel. If he's not contributing anything at all, he's not even going to, based on rumors, and take it with how you see it as a grain of salt on it, he's not even going over to the sidelines to encourage the offense like when they're like down, when they're like going 3 and out. He's a silent coach, and it's like, bro, we need more vocal people. You are not it.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. Now,
that's rough.
that is, but it's the truth. Again, if this is a results-based game,
it is,
and Venables says it is, and to an extent, I agree with that. But using his own words, he's not getting results. He needs to be kicked to the curb. Basically, week of Houston. Number 2, it's got to be Seth Littrell, because there is still no excuse for walking out with whatever an abomination of a game plan that was, if there even was one. Yes, there is points of injuries affecting your game plan. There is points of players still have to execute. Again, it's not his fault the players turn the ball over, but he still has to make the plans and tailor them to uh, basically the players' abilities. Simplify the stuff. Stop. It's the complaints I had about other coordinators before. Stop trying to force them into your system when their abilities will never reach that point. And that's being realistic. That's being fair to them. That's not even I'm challenging you to get that point. That is setting them up to fail, which was, again, number one of my reasons of why things happen, why things you can be mad at the process. And as a fan in general, for people who pay for the tickets, the merch, you should be angry at that. So Seth to me is number 2. I think their seats are both warm. If we lose to Auburn on Saturday, for example, they should be not even allowed on the tarmac. They should be go hurricane hunting, and I hope they find the eye wall.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'll agree. Yeah, I'll agree on that. Like a lot, like a lot of like everything with Seth kind of does rely upon. Okay, do we come back and we do well against Auburn? Okay, if we do that, great. Hockett, great. Arnold just lost his confidence, lost in the big game. We stick with Hawkins with this defense, and Hawkins being, let's even say, an average QB. Cool. That's cool. That's fine. And here's the thing. Look, we should beat Auburn. I want to be clear. We should beat Auburn. But like, as long as the performance is competent for the offense, actually, I'm not gonna say competent. As long as it has to be a good performance from the offense. Yeah, and like even like if we lose, the performance has to be good. If we win, it has to be. If we win, it has to be competent. And if that happens, great. Then and we'll just great, move forward. Then just move forward, and we'll head from there, because that's the biggest thing. Arnold looked bad against Tennessee. But Tennessee's also good. Tennessee's also a good team, so we don't know yet. And I think that's the toughest thing to look at in season, because in November we're gonna have a clearer picture of whose fault who's at fault if things go to hell. Right now, we don't know. Was this just a bad week? Did Tennessee out game plan us? We have they definitely out game planned us, but what can we learn from Tennessee? I hope it's a lot, but at this point, we have to see. At this point, we have to see where the season takes us. And obviously, despite some misgivings I have about guys, I never want anyone to be fired, because I want them to succeed and be the best. But we might be into that. But yeah, we might, if a bad loss to Auburn. That's where things start to get really steamy for some guys. So,
well, we're at the point, Swiggy, that expectations, reality. Expectations is still, if OU goes 8-5 in the SEC first year, that's still above the Vegas, even if it's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 7-5, 8-4 in the regular season. That's still Vegas expectations. That's still where did we kind of go wrong with it? And to be clear, because I don't know if we have just OU fans in here or just Tennessee fans, who knows? I want to be clear too that OU didn't lose because we're the SEC. We're tougher than any other conference. That was not the case Saturday. That was OU lost because we couldn't get out of our own way. And that's not taking anything away from Tennessee. Okay. I want to make that clear as well.
Oh,
OU could not get out of their own way.
Oh, yeah, no. Here's the thing. That's my thing. Tennessee's defense did a good job. You still have to take advantage of those mistakes. You can't give guys holes or lanes, because hey, if they had not played well and we've been able to establish the run, if we've been able to settle in, maybe or maybe that first interception doesn't happen. Okay, we calm down, we rally, and things look a lot different. Now that didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. But but we've seen it before. They're playing quarterbacks who've had really bad first halves and then and then just kind of during halftime, we're able to unlock we're able to unlock the defense and put on some great performances. So I definitely want to credit Tennessee's defense. That's the one reason why I'm not going crazy. Like if we had lost to no offense to Arkansas, I think Arkansas is good. But like if we had lost to Arkansas at home like that, I'd be panicking a lot more.
Well, but like I said, it can escalate really,
It can.
really fast because it begins because if it gets worse, so we had the expectation of we could get 9-3, 10-2. Now we're looking realistically at 8-4, 7-5 for the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
If it goes further, that's where the dominoes start going of we need to start having talks about certain coaches. If we go worst case scenario and it's 3-9 by or 4-3-9, 4-8. I had to think. I had the math. I'm sorry. It's 8-28 here. I had the math. But if it gets to 4-8 before the bowl season, we have to question even Venable's job because I'm going to say it right now, and I know it's not going to be a popular opinion, but at 51 minutes on this live stream on September 23rd, 2024, I don't think Venables is the guy. I have thought about that for a while. I don't think he is ready to be a head coach. And I know that's another topic for another day that we could save for another time, but he was brought in to fix the defense. He neglected the offense. And now the question will be, as of right now, that's my opinion. That could always change, okay? The 5-year projected like he did at Clemson may be longer here. But now is this opportunity. His first strike was Seth Luttrell. I think we all can agree on that right now. Seth is not panning out, and he hasn't given us any hope in this first quarter of the season to otherwise say why, okay? But as of right now, he is not the guy. And I don't know who would be the guy to replace. That's not something I'm concerned about at the moment because that's not even on the radar. If it's end of the season, we're 4-8. Yes, that should absolutely be a question of how hot is his seat. I do want to circle back around though to the other ones really fast though. Jimmy, to answer your question, I think my gut feeling is Helms needs a year of experience to get actually on the field. I think since he redshirted and he was injured, I think he's just going to have to make it through a year first with some practice under his belt before we can even consider him on the field. I think there is a route for him to get to the field, but I'm not the person to ask that. And I know I'm 0-2 on your questions at the moment. But I think there is a path, but it also depends on who's in front of him at this point. Right now, his path is much brighter because Sharp and what's his name are crap in the bed. So anything's possible. Anything is absolutely possible. And not 82. I think OU Texas is ABC. Or I'm pretty sure it's ABC.
It's 2:30 ABC.
It's ABC. So I hope you do have fun. Know going in that it can get ugly really fast. I'm not going to take away from that because anything can happen with OU Texas. Because honestly, what I expect the rest of the season, because I'm realistic, I cannot favor OU in any game except Maine for the rest of the season. Yeah. And that's being realistic.
We should be favored against Auburn. Auburn's not that.
We are against favor, but I cannot personally favor them in any game until I see improvement because you still got to have an offense to basically cross over the 5-yard line. That being said, with it's not going to be blowout games. It's probably going to be scores like this where it's very low because the defense is so lights out. But the circle, I want to circle back though real fast. So Joe John and Finley, I think their seats are the warmest, and I don't even think it's a question. I think their seats are already warm at that point. And the reason too, I think feel free to disagree. I honestly believe it's because Joe C and I bet Haraz are really pissed off on that embarrassment of an important performance when you rolled out the red carpet basically for the SEC and you put that offense on the field. I think they're pissed. I think you have to figure something out.
But you can't. But that's sport. But that's sports. You can't just Like I mean, I'd love to wave a I think we all love to wave a magic wand and just fix the offense. I get it, man. I get it, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I mean, look, some people are. I mean, some people are probably gonna be fired, but right now, once again, we'll have to see how the season goes. It's too early.
Swiggy, I have to
It's too early.
Swiggy, I gotta disagree on that, man, because
It's too early.
OU Temple is ahead of OU in offense right now.
Fair.
Temple is
Fair.
like there is no excuse for that, and Temple's horrible. Like at some point, it's a coaching problem. OU is right now at least right now. Oh, it hasn't even updated. Well, no, it has. Never mind. Right now, Houston is barely below us at this point, and they are struggling on their offense. UTEP is ahead of us. Michigan is ahead of us. At some point, there is yes, we can take some stuff and we can make the argument however we want to, but there is some fact like Temple being ahead of us is an issue. The only like we are 119 and there's 133 spots. I was worried for a moment that right now that what's their names? That Kent State would be above us at this point. We're not there yet, but we're getting there.
I mean,
so,
yeah.
But now I want to I want to circle back because I want to finish the other side of it. So Joe, John, Seth are your number one and your number two. In my opinion, you can interchange them. I think you can be justified on either. If you had to make a firing today to fix it, I think you could. The safest spots to me, number one to me is DeMarco. I know a lot of people have DeMarco much higher, but my reasoning is his entire unit is based on the offensive line. Without the offensive line, you can have Adrian Peterson back there. You can have Herschel Walker. You can have Bijan Robertson. They're going to have the exact same results too. You have to have somewhat of a O-line with a pulse to have those guys to get those wheels in motion at that point. I don't blame him for that. I do blame him that I don't think the running backs have been developed quite as well as I have hoped. I feel like he may be scared to put Taylor Tatum as number one, regardless of where the experience and everything's at. And that's another argument for a completely different live stream, which is what goes into the main circle. The biggest fault I have is his players just can't block. They're soft. They are very soft outside. I'll give Taylor Tatum credit, but I think that's who he is. That's not he was taught that. I think that's DeMarco's biggest problem at that point. But I think his spot is genuinely safe because there hasn't really been running back packages with them catching the balls or anything like that. Like it's really been very basic. I don't blame DeMarco with it. I think his spot's pretty safe. I also would say Emmett Jones. I think his spot is also relatively safe. I think his biggest knock is he can recruit, but his wide receivers are really short. And that's going to be a problem going into these bigger, better teams. And they cannot catch the ball. After the performance I saw against Temple and against Houston, I'd be doing what they had with Ryan Broyles back in 2010 to 2011. I think it was like a short YouTube special where they said, how did you improve it? He went out into the field and had like a tennis ball machine, and they just flung it at him over and over and over. That's what you got to do with these guys at that point. Like they're not catching the balls. Like they are busts. I think with Emory, as well as not the ability to block, you got to block. You got to protect your quarterback with this O-line being as atrocious as it is. You got to be able to do that. I don't blame injuries or anything like that because that room is just so decimated. I think his spot saves. The problem I have is I think you can start making an argument either direction for Bill Bedenbaugh. I think there are legitimate claims that he has not stepped up and developed players. I also think as well he's been handcuffed as well because of the previous administration, and we're just bouncing back at this point. I think there are valid claims to both sides. And I'll be upfront, I don't even know where I'm at with Bill Bedenbaugh because I'm like, the O-line sucks. Why does it take 7 games to figure out who needs to be in these right positions? Why are these guys underdeveloped? But then again, I'm like, well, they haven't recruited. But then again, it's his fault with the NIL, and it's his fault for not taking the portal more seriously and closing the deals. It goes both, where it's like for everyone before, there's always the other side and vice versa. For me, he has the biggest pro and con, and it's really he's been here to over 10 years. Do you trust a coach who's been here 10 years who has he gotten complacent? I think that's the bigger one. If you say no, then he can stay. If you say yes, cut him loose.
I think. I mean, yeah, that's kind of question that unless you really have inside information or know like the vibe of the staff,
Correct.
you really can't tell. So I'll just say this. He in general develops good offensive linemen. Unfortunately, sometimes it's what you work with. And this year just might be, a year where you can't, there's just some guys. There's some guys you can never help. So we'll see. It doesn't seem like he's gotten complacent. I don't think anyone. I don't think anyone's. The fact that they're not even giving Jackson Arnold a bounce back game against Auburn tells you how serious they're taking this. So that's the one reason why I'm kind of like, let's see what happens. The offense hasn't been good, but now with Hawkins this week, I will get a little bit more we'll get more clarity on it, because right now the issue is Jackson Arnold just a bust, and and once Hawkins is in and running the offense, things will look better? Or is this offense just bad in general and it's game plan coaching? Now, I think it's definitely I'm definitely in it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
It's the Venn diagram, and how close is the Venn diagram?
Yeah, no one's ever no one person's ever fully at fault normally. I'll be interested to see.
Let's be honest. It is the majority of game Saturday was on Jackson Arnold because he took the momentum away with his turnovers. That is a fact. That is not in my opinion, that's not even up for debate.
That's the only reason. That's the only reason why I'm not totally ready to not kill. I'm not ready to fire the whole I'm not ready to fire the coaching staff. It's unfortunate because it seems like it was more Arnold than that. We'll see. Like I said, I'll have hotter takes next week after I'll have hotter takes next week after I see what Hawkins does and what the offense looks like. But if we run, but I know I've been kind of, I don't want to say cool on it, but because I've been cool. I've been just cool because we'll see what happens with Hawkins. But if we have another offensive performance against Auburn like we do against Tennessee, no. Well, then I'll say Seth should be fired Saturday night. I'll have no issue saying that. It's one of those. It's just one of those kind of. Look, I'm chill now because there does seem to be at least somewhat of a path forward with this coaching staff. Will it work? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see on Saturday.
It's just like the picture I have of this live stream, Swiggy. We don't have an offense. We have a concept of an offense because there's players on the field. They're wearing Sooners jerseys, but they have no idea what they're doing.
Right now it's a concept.
That's a concept.
Right now it is, and so right now it is, and some of that might be Arnold has bad decision making and just doesn't get and just starts doing whatever. That's possible. I don't think that's what it is. I think there is a part the coaching staff has to play. But we'll see after Auburn. We'll see.
I think we also have to. I do want to say this about Seth as well, and I've heard this, and I'm like, guys, y'all are wrong. I'm sorry, you are just outright wrong. I know there are some defenders of Seth out there that's like, because I mentioned like my dudes. I'm gonna be honest. Unless somebody's promising, I'm not hiring a G5 coach. I'm sorry. Like, you have to show me something that you've done to show that you have a high ceiling. Being the coach of North Texas is not a high ceiling based on the results, but he got him in the championship game. Like, my dudes, they were 6-6, I think, in the last year before he was fired, and he never won a bowl game in his life, and he only had like 2 years, I think, at 9-4 or whatever. Like, he wasn't nearly as this. I'm not going to even say prodigal son, but he was not nearly as good as what y'all think he is for it. Again, I want to see a high ceiling for it, but there are some people out there defending it, and it makes me roll my eyes and go, y'all are stupid. So, Gavin, I know you've been wanting to say something.
Yeah, and it was like, to your point, I'm kind of really at this point too, to where, it's like, as much as I like having some of the old, guys that have the OU ties and everything, I would like to see somebody, basically at this point to where, and this is just my take, somebody that's basically a little bit different, that's not with like the deep OU ties. Because I have been really getting to the point to where, oh, you got, the connections and all that and everything from the past and everything too. And it's kind of been like, especially with like Seth and Joe John Finley, who both played and everything over the years in OU and have the whole standard and everything. The problem is, and this is where I kind of get at, and from reading some of the comments and everything that I've seen as well, it's like, I have really had, and this is just going to be a very, very, very hot take, but it's like, I just don't think Seth has the right attitude, when it comes to the whole issue, especially when it comes, after a loss like that. It's just like, I've been, to where I have just not been able to see, the whole issue of taking accountability more than anything, where he's putting it on himself or anything. Brent has kind of done somewhat of that and everything, but it's like, what the standard is at OU, and especially the history of all that. And it's like, and if you're not really wanting to do that after all these years, then I think honestly you gotta go. I'm sorry, but I think Seth, needs just to
I
be
agree.
gone. Period.
I
Because
agree.
here's the thing, and here's the problem. The problem that I have, and I'm going to be going deep into this, because a lot.
Go
The
ahead.
other issue too,
I had like 30
uh,
minutes where I broke down what football was on how we got
and the
from point A to
problem.
point B. So go ahead.
So here's the other thing though too. A lot of it is because it's not just him, but it's his whole family that has the deep ties. Because if you remember, his father, basically played as fullback, back in the '70s as well. So there's a lot of deep ties and everything that go on within all that. And it's like, oh, they're not gonna get me, and all that with the family and stuff like that. It's like, no, I'm gonna just want you out because you cannot prove the results that you're wanting out there on the field. It doesn't matter what history that you have, with like with all your family that's been in there that's won championships. If you want to say you want to have that championship mentality, I want to be able to see it, because honestly, Seth has not been able to show that sort of championship mentality that we've had, basically on years past, to where he's won a championship, his dad won a championship. That is something I am not seeing, out of Seth. He's just basically almost like they're just basically kind of getting a paycheck and move on with just like what talent that's available on the field.
I agree. It's a nepotism thing with it, and OU's been bad about it, and they have to. To me, Seth was a lazy hire. It was solely to keep Jackson Arnold around, and now without Jackson being the starter, now we're going to see how well Seth can game plan when it's not all about Seth. But also, too, I think they didn't do a true coaching search, and it could be half of it is there. We don't know what's out there at that point. Of maybe the pickings are slim. I mean, it kind of makes me think of Oklahoma State, where they had an opportunity a while back to punt Gundy and go get Chris Kleinman, for example, and they didn't, and I think they're suffering as a result of it. Right now across the board. I think other teams and stuff, it's the same thing at this point. Which, complete side note, completely off topic. Okay, what was up with Lance Leopold's tweet tonight from Kansas? Like, I'm all in. I'm on this. Like, is he saying I'm going out for some cigarettes and milk and not returning to Kansas? Like, what's going on?
I think I think that game from West Virginia is starting to break him, and he's realizing what Kansas is and what their full potential is, which is maybe make a bowl game every couple of years. But speaking about the Big 12, but by the way, Josh, I want respect because my lock of the week last week pulled it off.
You got to give me more context, my man.
Oh, that was the end of it. BYU beat Kansas State.
Really?
That was my lock of the week.
I don't even recall that. I've had so much anger from Saturday, and it could be because I'm delirious from the heat from Saturday as well.
Some of it's speaking delirious, but yeah, that was that was the last thing I said on this live stream last week on. I forget. I think it was Tuesday. I said BYU is my lock of the week over Kansas State. So.
Boy, they put a clinic on Kansas State, and that's why I said
I'm just gonna
for people. I know there are people who are coming in out on this live stream for it. And again, I appreciate everybody who's sticking around, having fun, chatting. Again, regardless, it is at the end of the day, it is a game. Like it is football. It's not the end of all. It doesn't define who we are as people. With it, we all have other hobbies. Now that said,
I'm taking my victory. Screw that! I'm taking my victory lap. I was right. And that's it. I was right, and I was right about that game, and that's the only important thing that happened on Saturday.
Sure. Sure.
It is.
Sure. But we said a while back that there's people who were like, oh, look at how many teams were in the Big 12. It's going to be so fun watching it. And I was one of the ones that spoke up and said, no, it's not, because these are going to be crappy teams fighting against each other. I'm not going to go as far as to say they're going to be two hobos fighting over a half-eaten grilled cheese sandwich behind the dumpster. But it's not going to be fun. It's going to be like a step up from, or maybe even a step below Pac-12 after dark. And that's where we're at with the Big 12 right now. It's not a fun conference to watch, guys. And maybe I'm spoiled in the sense of I like watching good football, and that's not good football. But then again, I say this, and guess what? I'm a glutton for punishment and watched the offense on Saturday. So maybe I'm just insane.
I mean, it is what it is. It's the thing. Look, the thing about college football, unless you if you really want to watch some decent football, you watch the big games. If you like general football chaos where anything can happen, then yeah, you're a sicko and love it. Then you're a sicko and love all of college, which is me. I'll admit, I love all of college with all the crazy stuff going on. I like seeing Kansas, West Virginia. I think it's fun. But I don't disagree with you that the level of play in the Big 12 is it's a step above the MAC, which it's better than the MAC, but it's kind of it's exciting. It's exciting. It's fun to watch, and especially if a big game is especially if a big game isn't really going how people want it to go. Then it's fun. It does give you some stuff. But that's college football. But I mean, that's just college football. You either like that or you don't. It's a feature, not a bug. Yeah, that's all I like. That's why I love it. So.
And something I want to mention, so you actually just reminded me of it, and I'll mention it from 5 minutes ago, where I mentioned the Pokes. That is also a question for OU at this point of say, let's pretend for a moment this goes completely south on Saturday, and it's due to the game plan. We'll say it's just players were executing, but they were calling stupid stuff like let's run Jackson Arnold from the shotgun and have him run into 5 defenders type of idiots.
Yeah,
that type of shit. That's unforgivable.
That took years off my life. That's the
that's the
only reason I'm not defending Seth Moore, Like, I'm mildly
because
cool.
his game plan was bad.
Well, like, I'm mildly cool just because I don't know how what Jackson Arnold can do might have limited him. I really want to blame Seth, but I want to at least see what Hawkins can do before I fire Seth out of the cannon. I mean, don't get me wrong, my cannon's ready and I have everything set up. I just want to wait until Saturday. I just want to wait till Saturday before I fire him. So
Correct. Well, it's the also what's it called? The other portion is if you do fire him though, leave him on the tarmac, punt him into the sun, or ask him to go watch the hurricane and cheese it while he's watching it for you. Who do you replace him with? And half of that is I think DeMarco would be promoted as interim at this point to the end of the season. I think he'd be competent enough to do that. I don't have enough knowledge to know who you even go look at because to me, this is a OU. It's time to open the checkbook up.
yeah,
That's a go.
Yeah.
You have to go poach from another school at this point.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yep.
You look at the top 10, top 15 offenses, maybe, and that's where I say maybe even G5 of like if the ceiling is high, you go poach. You go poach. And now the flip side of this, and I know a lot of people are dogging on Jackson Arnold, myself included. I feel bad for him, but that's the nature of the game, guys, too. Is
I mean,
you can be very empathetic of like where he is at right now because we don't know what happens in the locker room. We don't know like what his development is, what they're doing at practice, and that does affect you. It does. He's in a critical learning point, and that you learn bad habits, you get into bad habits at this point. However, that's also the era of NIL at this point. You can't be as forgiving because if we're offering this kid say $500,000, I don't know how much he got, but quarterbacks have a lot of money, guys. That's a waste of money. That's a terrible investment.
Wait, quarterbacks make a lot of money. When did this happen?
I know. Shock.
I mean, you know what? I'm flipping between the Monday Night Football games, and you know what? Trevor Lawrence just took the prettiest $275 million sack I've ever seen. I mean, okay, that's not okay. Well, it's only he only has $200 million guaranteed, but yeah, no, yeah. So yeah. If you want to know if you want to know how hard predicting football is, I'm pretty sure Doug Peterson is gonna be fired this week because you can't fire Trevor Lawrence. You've invested too much in him, and man, I like Lawrence, but he is just, I mean, he's entering bust territory. Gave him an extra year because Urban, but I'm getting off topic now. So,
but no, that's part of it though. Is if this again, this is going to circle back to me. This is going to haunt Venables. If this is a results-based game, you have to be. You can't have emotion in it. I'm quoting an anime I'm watching, which I don't recommend people to watch because it's kind of meh. But from Ninja Kamui, they say pretty much like the same thing of if this is results based, you cannot get emotional. You cannot have attachments. This is kind of the same situation of you can't have attachments if this is a results based game. Otherwise, it's your job on the line. And sometimes you're doing it for the betterment of that person so they don't embarrass themselves. Like benching Arnold so he doesn't embarrass himself. There is some of that goes into that. I really do believe that. But if it's a results-based game, and I know I'm repeating it, I probably sound like a broken record. Chat's probably going, move on from it. You have to take that into consideration. It used to not be like that. It used to be more of let's celebrate. Now it's money-driven. This is ratings-driven. You have to min-max. So it basically in D&D, there's an example. I'm going to use D&D. In D&D, it's the difference of I'm going to play the character that I want to play and have a basically play the character I want to with all the flaws. And then there's the min-maxing. I'm going to play them to the optimal for it because they're going to have the best chance to survive, the best way to lead the units and everything. Video games have that too, like what are the best weapons, Pokemon in your tier ratings with your Uber, your overuse, etc. I know I'm going really deep in the weeds at this point, but that is part of it at that point as well. That is part of this is a results-based game. You have to stick with the results at that point.
You do.
So,
yep.
And I know, again, but we've been focused on the offense and stuff tonight all night long. because there's not a lot to talk about with the defense. They're doing what they're supposed to. They are fixed. We have depth. We saw action get done. That's the problem, is the offense has so much. We almost have 90 minutes of why is the offense bad? And we haven't even got to what solutions do you get to, because they're already starting to get solved at this point for it. But it's like, what went wrong? And
I have a very simple solution. All we do is we interfere with other schools and sign all the best players. God, Josh, you're making this look it's hard.
What? You're telling me we have to tamper?
No, it's not. No, it's not tamper. It's
Swiggy. We can't even. I'm going to
waters.
crack a joke. Swiggy, we can't tamper because we can't even have our field right on the thing. Now, I wanted to say that too because it's been on my mind. A lot of Tennessee fans bitched and griped about our field. So I'm going to meet them in the middle on it, because some of it is, yes, I don't think he got fired. I think he accepted a position at the Oklahoma City Golf. But our fields person left who was like a PhD biochemist in it, and we got someone who doesn't have that background, and it does show. I wouldn't be surprised if they open the checkbook up and say, we need you back because the field looks like poo-poo. On the other side of it, I wanted to reel Tennessee fans back a bit because, guys, it's been a hot summer. It's been over like in the mid 90s to lower hundreds for a month, and we hadn't had rain or very sparse rain for it. That's going to affect the field regardless. You could have sprinklers out there, everything for it. There is not enough you can do to keep up with that at that point if you're not trained in that field. The other part of that is also too that, guys, we had 4 home games in a row. That's going to affect the field too.
My solution. See, OU has refused to take my solution, which is a giant tarp. But you know what? OU is right not to take my solutions because they're bad and they're kind of and they will destroy you. So.
Gavin, I actually have a trivia question for you because Swiggy, you brought it up. I think it's a good point. Gavin, on Saturday at Oklahoma State, because of their artificial turf, it got really hot. How hot was it measured on the field? Give me a number. I want to see how close you are.
I was listening on the radio a little bit. I was hearing anywhere from like 150 to 160.
You are correct. The highest I heard was 158 to 160. At what point, and this is open to both of y'all, and I know we're changing subjects, at what point do we have to start using extreme heat of, guys, you have to rent screens or something to decrease the heat, or you have to go to natural grass? I feel like we're getting to that point. Whether people talk about climate change or not, that's irrelevant for me at this point. I know what I believe and everything as well. That said, at what point do we say this is an extreme weather condition? You're not just affecting the players on the field, you're affecting staff at that point on the field. At what point do we say this is unacceptable at that point?
Yeah.
And I mean Saturday. Whatever that was on Saturday. I mean fields always get fields in general always get hot, but like it should definitely be to the point in which you could survive more than an hour without having to get an IV.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw it real fast, Gavin. I'm going to throw this at y'all too. So I looked it up. Well, let me hold on. So first off, Gavin, I'll throw you a second question at you because you're good at trivia. Okay. How hot is it for a skin to get first-degree burns? In a legitimate, no humidity, no nothing, how long does it take for just the heat of something, say a stove, to give you a first-degree burn?
Oh, man. I don't know why, but I feel like first-degree burns.
Can I guess? After Gavin, can I guess?
Yeah. I would probably say about. I don't know why, and this is just going to be a complete guess. Maybe 210, 220, somewhere around there.
Okay. What's your guess, Swiggy?
I thought it was. I thought it was like 120, 125.
Swiggy is way closer, Gavin. It's about
Oh,
118 degrees to
oh
get a
wow.
first degree
Okay.
burn. So keep that in mind, okay? You know what also happens at about 120 degrees?
You can't touch. You can't touch any of those statues at the zoo because your hand will melt off.
Yeah, pretty much, because that's when the tar on streets and the asphalt starts to melt.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not kidding when I say, at what point are we getting to the point of schools need to invest in this, or this is you're punting it to a 7 o'clock kick because it's just too hot. And I think this is a true legitimate, because here's the thing, I looked it up, just the average. The average for a second degree burn is 131 degrees. So at your skin, you are literally a lasagna on the gridiron, which is kind of ironic there, and with gridiron grilling. Anyway,
Yeah. And,
but
and,
it's a safety hazard.
mhm. and
Go ahead, Gavin.
the other thing too, and I want to mention this too. I would fire whoever decided to basically go ahead and wear black helmets. I'm like, dude, it's already going to be hot. Why are you going to be wearing black helmets? When it's going to be nearly at 100 degrees?
Because
Because
we have
you know what?
style. Style.
I,
Because style is pain, Gavin.
I,
If I'm going to die, I want to do so stylish by wearing my high net by wearing my high net by wearing my high collar that will choke me out, while also wearing a corset that will destroy my organs. God.
yeah, but
Feeling cute
but
might melt on the gridiron later.
yeah, but I would also, and the only reason I bring this up is like, if you're really concerned about the player's safety, it's like there are only certain type of games that I'm okay if you're wearing black, like black decals and stuff like that or whatever. That day was not one of them.
Correct.
That
Correct.
and I just say that, and I do say that and everything. I have no issue with folks over at OSU or anything, but you have to take that into account. It's like, look, if you want to wear orange or white, or whatever, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But it's like you want something that's like, reflect, basically doing something where it's reflective and it's not bringing heat into where it's almost like a sauna in the helmets.
Correct. And that's even with like their on-site like facilities to cool them down and everything at that point. I mean, what we all know this from science class, guys, that the best color to wear is white, yellow, and gray. And like the worst of the worst is what you said, Gavin, the color, like as we put more colors into like shirts and everything, black, dark green, and green. Like it's common sense with it. And that I agree. I agree. So and for people wondering, I looked it up. Like I Googled it right now, but I had my assumption of, yeah, it's the lighter colors and then your darker colors. But yeah, I feel like we're getting to a point. I mean, look at Saturday. Like if trends show, I'm not a meteorologist. That said, if trends show it, like I have people going, telling me that if the hurricane hits Auburn on Thursday, we should be playing on Saturday. I'm like, guys, off the current track of it, where it's at right now, okay, and it could change, it could wobble. It's hitting Auburn at 8 o'clock p.m. on Thursday night. Let's go 12 hours. That's a good enough from sundown to sunup. That means 8 a.m. on Friday, okay? You're expecting the team to fly out and everything back to be hunky-dory by 2:30 on Saturday. So you're assuming that 30 hours, everything will be fixed. No, it's not going to be fixed. That field's going to be in terrible condition. There's no telling if electricity is even going to be accessible, let alone if people can get there safely. Like, it's a dumb comment. So we'll know more of as the weather develops of what Saturday looks like and everything. But it's the same thing. It's like, if we can plan for hurricanes and we can have tornado days, why can't we plan this for heat days and tell these networks, like, sorry guys, we're kicking off when it's safe to do so? Because then you're having people in the stands, as we've all argued, faint left and right.
Isn't sure. until insurance basically makes the schools, they're not going to. Nah, trust me. Some insurance company said, if you're playing in, if you're playing in this heat where if you're playing when the air temperature is over 100 degree and is over 95, well then, trust me. Trust me, then they will stop. As soon as there's any kind of accountability or lawsuit or insurance won't cover it, they'll stop it because
Yeah.
that's what will make them finally stop it. But until that point, you know what? We'll just see. We're just gonna hang on for a month and hope for the best.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
I'm just being realistic. I'm just being realistic. That's being realistic. That's how they are. But
yeah.
yeah, it's a touchdown, barely. Bengals got like the tip of the ball. He just got over, but whatever. I mean,
Wow. How long does the game have left?
There are 2 Monday night games tonight for those of you who those of you who don't have it on in the background. My cat is currently sobbing at what's going on as the Jaguars are in the fourth. That's I don't know, about 10 minutes left. They're down 10-37, while Washington is beating Cincinnati about 28 to. The Bengals have to re-kick it, so it's going to be 28-19 or 28-20 with 3 minutes left in the third. So
I
both
just looked it. I
both
just looked
cat
it up,
teams are losing
Swiggy.
tonight.
I'm in a dog fight with my opponent in fantasy football. Do you know what the current score is right now?
I'm gonna say the difference is like 1.5 points.
You're not even 1.5 points. It is 61-98 to 61-90.
Ooh,
It's
okay.
not even a tenth of a point.
Like
we are neck and neck, and right now it's T. Higgins and he has McLaurin in.
That's rough because Jaden Daniels looks really good tonight. Although write this down, kids. This is gonna be a fun trivia question. Jaden Daniels' first touchdown pass was completed to an offensive lineman. So
that's a good trivia question. There's some good trivia questions.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I watched the game, but I've also been going nuts on baseball playoffs because we're about to that time. So
yeah, it is.
Unless you're somehow rooting for the White Sox of all teams.
I'm rooting against the White Sox, and once again, for those of you who don't pay attention to baseball, which I know is most people under the age of 50, Chicago White Sox got loss number 120 yesterday. That ties them for the most losses all time. They need to go 2-4 to avoid being the worst modern team, to have the worst record of any modern team ever. 3 games against the Angels, 3 games against the Tigers. We'll see if they can avoid it. But right now the White Sox are they're worse than OU's offense because the 40-man roster in baseball was made so at the very least you'd be able to find 2 or 3 good relievers in a year that you could trust so you could eke out 60, 70 wins. The fact that they can't even do that, and other than one stretch of the season when they were 11-8, they've just been terrible the rest of the season. It's astounding. It's this is a team that does not have that. If when trailing after 7 innings this year, they're 1-120. So if they don't have if they're losing after the 7th inning, they're going to lose that game.
Side note, while y'all were talking baseball really fast, I took a quick glance. Right now and we'll talk more probably Wednesday, obviously, as we preview the Auburn game.
Mhm.
It does, models have updated as of 9 o'clock Central Daylight Time or Central Day, whatever. The area where the hurricane is forming, it has intensified, so they do expect a hurricane to form from it by tonight.
Mhm.
And Swiggy, it has shifted west just slightly.
Okay,
But
west.
here they said the flip side. Here's the thing. They said, and you know, I am speaking to people who don't know. That can change literally within 6 hours. It's a 6 to 12 hour cycle type of deal, however you want to define it.
Hurricane.
Microscopic, because there's a million models that go into this. Now
Yeah,
that said,
hurricanes are. Yeah, hurricanes are. I mean, I still think it's. I still think it's going to be more Florida right now, but hurricanes are weird. There's nothing you
right
can
now,
really. There's nothing you really
that's the
say about
big
them.
thing. They said though is it's not the cone of path or whatever you want to call it, area that's being affected one way or the other. It is how long is it going to last as a category 3 going
That's
inland, and they have stuff like as far as Kentucky, potentially a category 2 to a category 1. That's more major.
Terry. Terry just got about 10 yards.
who, who did?
Terry.
No,
Yes,
that's not who I want 10 yards. I need
I know who you
Higgins.
I know who you need, but you still have a quarter. You still have a quarter left, and this seems like it's gonna be a. This seems like it's gonna be a high scoring. It seems like that. I don't know. Seems like these teams are gonna hit 40 points each. So maybe not. We'll see though.
I'm blaming Dallas if it is, because Dallas has just been a complete shit show in
Well,
fantasy.
Dallas has. Well, you know what? Enjoy it because Dallas plays on Thursday night. So yeah, so at least so all of you Sooner fans and all of you Cowboys fans, you can start feeling depressed earlier this week. Oh God.
Man, and you know, again, we spent 90 minutes, Gavin and Swiggy, mostly talking about the offense because there's a lot to talk about. Now, I don't claim for us to be anywhere near the knowledge base the scoop guys are or the X's and O's, but I think we've done a good job tonight of saying like why this sucks on a very, very surface level, how we can get to fix it, but also why it sucked on the field on the night. I hope we were engaging and stuff tonight, but we didn't even talk about a lot of stuff like conference realignment, the arena that's happening, why I had to get a new cell phone 3 days ago, like
Yeah.
that type of stuff with it. But we can cover that stuff on Wednesday. But I'll tell you right now, y'all need to pay attention to the realignment that's happening between the shotgun wedding that's probably going to happen between the Pac-12 and Mountain West. I have videos I need to make, including I need to have an open letter. But let's go for a couple more minutes, guys, and we'll wrap up. But I need to write an open letter to OU, and we'll address it more on Wednesday. Of please stop the Toby Keith tribute for everything that is sacred in college football. Please stop it. The program does not revolve around one, as well as our crowd being as awesome as the atmosphere was. Our crowd is very mid. We need to step the game up a whole lot. I have so much topics and everything that we did not cover, but you don't think the offense is that bad, but then when you realize, oh crap, we're hitting like almost an hour and 45 minutes and we're not rambling, we're literally dissecting it. Stuff is rough. And you know, something I do want to add in. I mentioned this to a coworker of mine, and I think it speaks volumes. Gavin, feel free to correct me. Swiggy, feel free to correct me. Mike Stoops said a couple years ago that when we were having roughly the same issues of we know what we see, we know the football, we're not stupid. Mike Stoops says, well, the fans don't really know what they're talking about.
That's my team. Oh,
Nah.
okay. Apparently, we need to watch Venable's show because he said something more interesting that people are wishfully thinking that Venables is going to cut down on RPOs, which I'd definitely be pro that. If
I would be too.
I'd definitely be pro that. Oh wow, Trevor Lawrence got benched. I mean,
so well, let me finish my thought. I want to
yeah.
finish
Finish your thought. Yeah.
So Mike Stoops said a couple years ago. Mike Stoops said a couple years ago though that the fans don't know what they see on the field. Okay. If this was 40, 50 years ago, I may lean more towards the coaches because TV was not accessible. Fans, I'm not going to say fans were not learning the game, but it was not as widespread. Okay, I can get behind that. At some point, it did shift. But now, we're in 2024. We have books on this. We have science on this. At some point, if someone tried to say the excuse of the fans don't know what they're talking about, I'm going to say I may not be a coach, but my eyes don't lie to me, my man. Like, I see what's on the field. It's just like people who said, I'm using this as an example of the people who have not realized that Josh Heupel went easy on us in the second half. I'm not saying that he couldn't have blown us out. I don't think he had the capability or the weapons to do that. But let's not pretend that he had no reason to play his offense hard and he went into conservative mode because Nico fumbled it twice. Like, let's not beat around the bush on that as well. Like, he could have turned the page and it could have hurt us a lot more. It's just like defensively, I think they also went more conservative. I'm not going to say they went full prevent, but they were not anywhere near the level they were in the first half at that point because they knew we couldn't score. So I don't want to hear the excuses of, well, the fans don't know what they're talking about when no, they do.
Well, I mean,
So,
I have it. Well, my PhD is in wombology, so
is it because you turned the M to the W?
Yeah, not football, but yeah. So for those of you still not watching, Mac Jones got in the game for the Jaguars and immediately fumbled it right back to the Bills. Like Josh Allen's done for the night. They're not even playing Josh Allen anymore. I mean, 5 minutes left. It is a 30. It's about to be a 37-point game. You know what? And I think the Jaguars owner is still more concerned about wrestling than he is about his football team. Yeah, no, and I guess the only other thing I guess the only thing I have to say about OU is, yeah, I mean, people just in general, your average football fan is smarter. There's just more information out there. Coaches talk a lot. Coaches talk a lot more now. You have other avenues, like and this isn't really denigrating anyone in the past, but it's just different when I can go on a YouTube channel and learn stuff as opposed to, oh, John Madden's just breaking it, whereas John Madden was just breaking down the super, super basics for me.
Exactly.
That's an insult to John Madden. I mean, honestly, John Madden doing that definitely made the average audience smarter. It's just, and it's just that's all there was for a while. And as you know, I mean, hey, that's the plus side of the information age. If you want to learn about football, you can learn about football. So,
Yep. It's that's the disconnect I think it is, and these coaches don't realize like they are under a microscope, and you have former players who have more accessible. I'm not gonna say vlogs, but like more accessibility to the normal fan to break stuff down where stuff's not dumb. It's why the game is evolving epically fast at that point too. So, and they have to accept that. So, guys, we've gone an hour and 45 minutes on it. Gavin, do you got any final thoughts on the offense on this game Saturday? We have more we can always talk about on Wednesday, but anything we didn't cover, anything that you want to bring up?
I think that's pretty much covered about everything. I probably will discuss maybe what plans I would love to see on Wednesday. That I'll just kind of go over that Wednesday.
Sure, and we'll have more of an idea what stuff looks like as we get closer to game day and stuff, because we're going to see quarterback change is going to be a big one, what we're going to see and everything at this point, maybe keys to the game. Swiggy, any final thoughts as we begin to wrap up for tonight?
My only real thought here is we're on to Auburn, which is still a super weird thing to say to me, and yeah, we'll see. and we'll see. And I mean, we'll see. I think the chicken or the egg is going to be solved come this come this Saturday. So offense, you better bring it.
I'm also of the same opinion. I have two more final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up the show. My first one is the big takeaway still from this, putting aside the offense's pretty much lack of being on the field beyond the standard. Where are they on a milk carton? There's no reason to be embarrassed that we lost on Saturday. Again, the defense showed we are SEC ready on that side. The offense is a complete rework, and it's going to take time. I think it's going to be a lot longer than what people want. It's going to be a lot longer than what people expect, but it is going to take time. Time is going to be the thing, but how much time do they have before they say this ain't working out? That said, there is no embarrassment for it because we didn't get blown out. We played to expectations, in my opinion, for it. We had the opportunity to win. Mistakes killed us. It wasn't because of this mighty SEC stuff. It's not that. The defense did their part. We just shot ourselves in the foot.
I mean, it's football. Football is an incredibly hard sport. You saw Kentucky. Kentucky almost beat Georgia. It's just week to week. Football's a war week to week, and it's sometimes and
Well,
look. The defense did their job. I think Tennessee's a really good team. I don't think there's any honestly, if the offense had looked competent and we had just lost to Tennessee, no one would really be in panic mode right now. Unfortunately, the way you lose does count for a lot because if you just looked at the score, you'd be like, okay, you lost 5 points, or you lost by 10 points at home to Tennessee. Tennessee's a really good team. He's not there yet. It's everything. Everything's unfortunate. Everything's unfortunate with it. But on to Auburn, and we'll see.
correct. Second thought I have on it is more of a selfish reason. As a fan, I'm just disappointed that we have these large games and it just seems like OU throws up on themselves or due to coaching staff getting lazy. We haven't won a big one at home in a long time. That meant something. Notre Dame, we threw up on ourselves. Mind you, we lost those seasons to those games against them and A&M and stuff because they had Heisman finalists and winners at that point. That was the big atmosphere. We wanted to win that one and we lost it. Ohio State, I would say, is the next one, but Ohio State was also too there was an inkling. I think everybody knew deep down we were gonna lose, but how big was it going to be? Type of deal. It was not this production like it was with Notre Dame or like Tennessee, and this one we lost, and it's disappointing that the fans show up.
I think
some
and
the
of
team
it
doesn't.
I think so. The defense showed up. Don't put it on the whole team. It's I think it's unfortunate, but I think it also speaks to where the Big 12 has been because
Correct.
if we didn't play at the State Fair, we'd have some big wins at home over Texas. If Oklahoma State was a better team, we'd have some big wins over them. It's just kind of unfortunate because you have to plan stuff out years ahead of time.
Correct.
Beating Nebraska doesn't really count as a big win. It was a fun win, but I wouldn't call it a big win. It's unfortunate.
No different than TCU in 2017,
yeah,
where it was a top 17, but it's not Notre Dame or Tennessee like we built it up.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, and I think, but a lot. Some of that's just bad timing because, switch the home and home with Ohio State, where when we have peak Baker Mayfield, we win that game easy. It's just It's sometimes things are just unfortunate. Anyway, I actually do have to jump off now. I know we're wrapping up. I know we're wrapping up anyway. But
I got one more. I got one more. If you got 2 minutes,
I got one more. I got 2 minutes. I got 2 minutes. Yeah, I got 2 minutes.
My last point is Reggie Bush, go fuck yourself. Like, I'm sorry. And for those of y'all, we will cover that on Wednesday. But Reggie Bush decided we're going to sue USC, the Pac-12, and the NCAA for back pay for NIL. My dude, are you that much of a loser?
Number one, what back pay is he getting from the Pac-12? Because the Pac-12 is currently the Pac-12 couldn't convince Memphis and Tulane to abandon the AAC, which I mean, good on the. I mean, I think that had more to do with no, they don't want to pay the exit fee, and their plan is just to kind of wait and see what happens with the ACC. So can't really fault them for that, but you're not getting anything from the Pac-12. I'm like, I'll say this about Reggie. If his lawsuit had been about lost earnings because of all the stuff with the Heisman, where he's not an official Heisman Trophy, he wasn't an official Heisman Trophy winner for like 20 years, I'd be intrigued by that because it was it was bullshit. They took his Heisman away, but no, trying to get it's like man, do you want Pete Carroll to walk into Discovery? Because let me tell you, Pete knows where bodies are buried, and people don't. Yeah, he was your coach 20 years ago, but he's not going to lie under oath for you.
I mean, it's Swiggy. It's the funniest thing is, first off, that my joke will be, fine, if you want to sue the Pac-12, take that, San Diego State. But then it goes into like Reggie Bush really acting like he didn't get paid. Like people were on his side on the he should get his Heisman back because of how everything went down. But him doing this has now completely shifted that narrative and caused people to go against him. Like, bro, you got a house. Like, in my opinion, it's not an opinion. I don't care what the connections are. You had an agent. That's why you were still ineligible anyway, even with NIL.
Yeah, and he was
but you got your Heisman back, whatever. But then he's acting like he has no money. But we'll cover that more Wednesday as we have more time for that. So, Gavin, Swiggy, I want to thank y'all for joining, and thanks for having this mini vent session with me. I think it was lethargic for everybody, or
cathartic.
Great for huh?
Yeah, you mean cathartic?
Cathartic. Thank you. I think it was cathartic for everybody.
Yeah, lethargic was. Lethargic was the offense.
Yeah, that's true. It was. I don't know if lethargic is in the word because they didn't show up. But yes, I think it was cathartic for us. And again, we're gonna have more group therapy sessions and other stuff. But it's not that we lost. It's how you lost. Everybody, I want to thank everybody for joining tonight. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell so you know when the channel updates or when we upload videos. Additionally, be sure to check out my previous videos and live streams as it helps bump up the channel numbers and helps the video algorithms in the search bar and or after videos. Our next live stream is going to be Wednesday, September 25th at 8 o'clock Central Daylight Time as we preview the Auburn game. As a reminder, we hold post-game videos either on Sunday or the occasional Monday, like tonight, and our previews on Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on whatever day is most convenient. So be sure to check the calendar and the time when it says when we're going live. And of course, spread the word about the channel. More people who subscribe, the larger the audience would be. I like interacting with y'all in the chat. I like answering y'all's questions, and it's a fun time. So Boomer Sooner, everybody. There's only one. Regardless if we lose, and regardless of if there's only one, it's still one more point that we did not that we have scored over the offense. So Boomer Sooner, there's only one, guys, and I'll see everybody Wednesday. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.